What makes someone truly believable? In a world filled with constant messages, opinions, and promises, credibility is what helps a message stand out. When people believe both what we say and who we are, relationships grow stronger, trust deepens, and communication becomes more effective. Welcome to the Credible Communication Podcast, where we explore how character, words, actions, and tone work together to strengthen communication and relationships. I'm your host, Anetria Pollard. As we continue our journey through the four pillars of credible communication, let's briefly revisit where we've been. In episode 1, we explored the power of words and how what we say can either build bridges or create barriers. In episode 2, we discussed actions because credibility grows when our behavior aligns with our message. But when our words are thoughtful and our actions are consistent, people often look deeper. They ask, can I trust the person behind the message? That question brings us to the pillar that supports every other aspect of credible communication. Today, we move into pillar 3, character. Words communicate our intentions. Actions demonstrate our commitment. But character is the foundation that supports them both because character shapes our decisions. It guides our behavior and it also influences how others perceive us over time. I believe character reflects who we are when no one is watching. It is expressed through integrity, honesty, accountability, and consistency. When character is strong, our communication it carries greater weight. In this episode, we'll explore why character is essential to credible communication and how it influences every interaction. Let's dive in. What is character? Character is who we really are, not who we think we are. It's not even who we pretend to be. It's not who you become when everybody is watching. Character is revealed in private before ever being revealed publicly. Yes, character is how you treat people you don't know. How do you treat that stranger you don't know? Character is doing the right thing when no one else is looking. It's that hidden foundation of integrity. Yes, I would say it's also the hidden foundation of our values, our honesty, and our consistency. And if the truth be told, the truth is this: your character will eventually speak louder than your words. When we talk about character, we're talking about the moral and the mental qualities that makes a person who they are. Character is your ethical framework. It is your integrity. Yes, it's your internal compass. It, we also call our internal compass our intuition. Yes, it shapes how you behave, especially in difficult moments. Anybody, we all can appear kind when things are easy, but character is revealed under pressure. Yes, character asks, who are you when nobody applauds you? Who are you when no one can benefit from you? Who are you when you have the opportunity to do wrong and nobody would ever know? That is character. Character is when we talk about the mental and the moral qualities that make a person who they are. It is their ethical framework. their integrity. Is that hitting character is the hitting foundation of integrity, of your values, your honesty, and your consistency. Let's talk about some key aspects of character. One key aspect of character is our moral compass. It begins with that compass. Those are the principles that guide our decisions every day. They're the principles that guide our honesty, our empathy, respect, compassion, and responsibility. Your moral compass, it helps determine what is right and what is wrong. And honestly speaking, in today's world, many people are being guided by feelings instead of values. Yes, but we have to remember that feelings change, but character, it remains steady. It's who you are. If I could say it this way, incredible communication, a moral compass is the internal set of values, principles, and the convictions that guide what we say, how we say it, and why we say it. It helps ensure that our communication is aligned with integrity and honesty, respect and trust. For example, imagine a manager discovers that a mistake was made on an important project. Without a moral compass, the manager may blame a team member to avoid personal responsibility as the leader. Information is hitting to protect their reputation, and communication, it has been driven by fear and self-preservation. On the other hand, had they used their moral compass, that manager may have taken responsibility of their part of the mistake. They communicate honestly about what happened. And they would focus on the solution rather than blame. That treats everyone involved with dignity and respect. And also, that manager may say, we made an error in this project, and I take responsibility for my role in it. Let's work together to understand what happened, learn from it, and move forward with a better process. I believe this communication is credible because it is actually, think about it, is guided by values such as honesty, accountability, humility, and integrity. So I would say a simple definition of character is in regards to the aspect of a moral compass is the internal guide that help us choose words and actions that align with our values, even when it would be easier not to. Incredible communication, we have to remember our moral compass ensures that what we say reflects who we truly are. And as believers, the Word of God tells us, let your conversations be always full of grace, seasoned with salt. Colossians 4 and 6. And when our moral compass is aligned with biblical principles, our communication becomes truthful without being harsh, kind without compromising truth, and honest without being hurtful. This ties who we are into who we are showing you. You know, character is what determines our values, and our values is what shape our moral compass. And our moral compass is what guides our communication and reveals our credibility. Character is doing the right thing even when it's difficult. It's telling the truth. You made a mistake at work or no one else noticed. Character is doing the right thing even when it's difficult. Telling the truth. You made a mistake at work, consequences. But instead, you admit the mistake and help correct it. What your character just said is, I value honesty more than protecting my image. Character, it also means being consistent when it's inconvenient. Yes, sometimes keeping your word. You promise to help a friend move on Saturday. When they arrive, you're tired and would rather stay home, but you honor your commitment. That says my word matters, even when it's not convenient. Character is also doing the right thing when it's uncomfortable. That is, having a difficult conversation. A misunderstanding is creating tension in a relationship. So rather than avoiding the issue, you respectfully address it with kindness and honesty. Because character says, I value peace and I trust more than temporary comfort. And character also means doing the right thing when there's nothing to gain. For example, returning something that doesn't belong to you. You find a wallet with cash inside. No one saw you pick it up, and you could keep it without anyone knowing. Instead, you return it to the owner. Character says, I do what's right because it's right, not because I'm being watched. Also, character is revealed through resilience. Yes, how do you respond under pressure? How do you treat people when you're stressed? Or how do you recover after disappointment? Because resilience is the ability to get back up after a setback. And sometimes character is not about never falling. Sometimes character is about getting back up again. In this segment, we're going to shift our thoughts to character traits. Yes, character traits are important in credible communication because they influence not only what we say, but how we say it, why we say it, and whether people trust what we say. Our words may carry our message, but our character determines the credibility of that message. And communications, I believe, may begin with our mouth, but credibility begins with our character. Let's talk about some examples of strong character traits. I think honesty. Honesty means you're telling the truth, even when it costs you something. It means you're being sincere and truthful in your words and in your actions, even when it doesn't feel comfortable, even when it's inconvenient. When someone can communicate under pressure, their character becomes even more visible because their emotions are high, but they have patience and self control and humility, which helps maintain their credibility. And that's what preserves the relationship. Remember, character is a silent messenger behind every spoken word. Another example of strong character traits is integrity. Integrity means you're standing firm on your moral principles. Your yes is yes, your no is no. You're not wavering because of the moment. The Bible defines integrity as honesty without compromise or corruption. And sometimes we have to ask God, guard my heart so I can walk in integrity. It's a daily walk. Give us this day our daily bread. We have to pray and ask God, give us what we need for today. And I believe that integrity is a moral principle we have to ask God to renew on a daily basis because integrity is developed daily. Another character trait is compassion. Compassion is showing empathy towards others. It's caring for people genuinely, not pretending, and wanting to help those who are hurting. Oh, we know the world definitely need more people to show empathy towards others because people are truly hurting in so many different areas of their life. And we all could use some empathy and compassion sometimes. And I believe people with character cares about people even when there is no audience. It's responsibility. Responsibility means you're taking ownership of your actions. You're taking ownership of your choices and your commitment. You're showing responsibility. You're showing mature character. And a mature character does not constantly blame others. It's something that we learn. It's something that we grow in. And it takes accountability and maturity to be responsible. I can remember a season in my life when I discovered that character wasn't being tested when things were easy for me. It was being tested when I was disappointed, when I was misunderstood, and under pressure. That's when integrity and consistency is tested. That's when we truly walk in our character. Have you ever experienced a cashier accidentally giving you too much money and you felt excited for a moment, but your character determined whether you would keep the money or return it? That decision reveals your values. And you gave the money back because you understood that you are accountable for your actions when they're right and when they're wrong. You know, if the truth be told, character and values, they go hand in hand. You develop your character through the values you hold. If honesty, for example, is one of your values, integrity naturally becomes part of your character. Your values, I believe, is what shapes your decisions, and your decisions shapes your habits. And I would say your habits is what shapes your character. Yes, your habits shape your character. So this is why we see both good character and poor character in people, because character is developed through our upbringing. Character is developed through our experiences in life. Our character is also developed through discipline and the choices we make, and through relationships, as well as our spiritual growth. So, character and value, I believe, they go hand in hand, and your development of character, I want to say you develop your character through your values, through the values that you hold. If honesty is one of your values, then you're going to be honest. If integrity, then you're naturally going to show that type of character, because our character, because your values is what shapes the decisions you make and your habits. That is why we see both good and we see poor in people. So that's why I believe we should give grace during growth. Yes. And let me say it like this: none of us get it right the first time or all the time. Character development is a process. Sometimes we fall, sometimes we miss the mark, sometimes we make poor decisions, sometimes we just need some grace to allow us to grow, because God's grace is sufficient for all. We should have the same type of love in our heart to give grace to others when they make mistakes, because grace is what allows us to grow. We must give ourselves and others the grace to mature and the grace to learn, even the grace to heal. and most importantly, the grace to become better because consistency is built over time and character is formed when our words and our actions and our values, our beliefs all align together. Are you guys aware that our beliefs actually influences our character? Our beliefs and our ethical framework, it influences our character. A personal ethical framework is a set of moral principles that guides every decision. What happens is it becomes the foundation for how we respond to life. Your beliefs is what determines what you will tolerate. Yes, what you will tolerate, what you stand for, how you treat people, and how you live when nobody is watching. That is why guarding your heart matters. Scripture says there's joy in an upright heart. And when we live with integrity, honesty, and compassion and consistency, there is peace that comes, and consistency comes with it. Not a perfection, but an alignment. And when your heart and your words and your actions and your values agree with each other, there is a peace in that, a peace that even passes your understanding. Now that we've talked about what character is and why character traits matter in credible communication, let's take it a step further. Character doesn't just shape our words, it shapes our relationships. In fact, character is the foundation upon which trust is built. People may initially listen to what we say, but over time, they decide whether to trust us based on the character they consistently observe. Trust isn't built through a single conversation. No, it's built through repeated experiences of honesty, integrity, consistency, and reliability. When our words and actions align, trust grows. When they don't, trust begins to erode. This principle applies to every relationship in our lives, our marriages, our families, our friendships, our workplace, our ministry, and even our communities. No matter the relationship, trust is the currency that strengthens connections, and character is the foundation that supports that trust. Okay, let's pause and talk about how character serves as the foundation of trust across different relationships. What I mean by that, for example, in marriage, trust grows when spouses demonstrate faithfulness, honesty, and consistency. Whereas in a family relationship, trust is built through dependability. Trust develops when people know they can rely on your integrity and discretion. And then in the workplace, I believe that trust is established through accountability, professionalism, and ethical behavior. And in ministry and leadership, trust it is strengthened when leaders' private character matches their public message. Because character is personal, but its impact is relational. What I mean by that is the character we cultivate within ourselves, it becomes the trust others experience in relationship with us because character shapes communication. But character does more than influence our words. It actually influences the relationships. And at the heart of every healthy relationship is trust. I can't say it enough. You know, people may hear what we say. Think about that. But they trust us because of what they consistently see. When our words and our actions align, trust grows. When they don't, trust is weakened. So whether in marriage, family, friendship, the workplace, or ministry, character remains the foundation upon which trust is built. And character is personal, but its impact, again, is relational. And the character we develop within ourselves becomes the trust others experience through us. So, in other words, character reveals itself in relationships, and relationships, character is what creates the emotional safety. When people consistently demonstrate honesty and respect, mixed with some integrity and patience and responsibilities, others begin to feel that emotional security and they're willing to communicate with them because the trust begins to grow. And trust changes the atmosphere of communication because people become more open. They're more honest and vulnerable, more transparent because they feel safe. And then in marriage, this becomes especially important. A strong marriage is not built only on good conversation. It's built on trust in the character of the person you're communicating with because communication without character, it eventually creates instability. But when spouses trust one another's character, communication becomes more open and more meaningful, more trusting. Why? I think it's because individuals understand that relationship is rooted in care. Relationship is rooted in care, commitment, and integrity. When I say the relationship is rooted in care, what I mean is the persons, they care enough to value each other's heart. They're mindful of how to speak to each other, and they're considerate of each other's feelings. They do not communicate to wound, to hurt each other, to manipulate, or embarrass or control. Care is what communicates, you matter to me. Also, let's stop and talk about commitment. Commitment means I remain trustworthy even when relationships go through difficulty. The truth of the matter is, real commitment is not based only on emotions. No, real commitment is rooted in consistency. It says, I will continue showing up with honesty, maturity, and patience and responsibility. That's what commitment says. And there's integrity. Integrity means my words and my actions agree with each other. We have to have integrity. It means I do not present one version publicly and another version of me privately. Integrity creates stability in relationships. And the truth is, you can't hide it. And when integrity is present, communication becomes healthier because people no longer have to question your motives. They no longer have to question your intentions or sincerity. The same principles apply in leadership. People rarely follow someone simply because they communicate well. We talked about this a while back. They follow people because they trust the character behind the communication. A leader's credibility grows when their decisions reflect integrity, when their words match their values, when their actions demonstrate fairness, and their leadership reflects responsibility. That is what that is what creates influence because Communication becomes powerful when credibility is present, and credibility is built through character. So the question is, how do we develop strong character? The good news is character can grow stronger over time. Every experience in life teaches us something. Challenges, they develop resilience, our ability to press forward, to move forward. Character grows stronger over time as correction develops our wisdom. And accountability, it develops our maturity as well. And consistency, it develops integrity. Strong character, it is developed intentionally, day by day, decision by decision, choice by choice. Here's a question for reflection. When people experience your communication, what aspect of your character do they encounter? Do they experience patience? Do they experience respect? Do they experience integrity? Or do they experience reliability? Do they experience compassion? And do they experience honesty? Because credible communication flows from credible character, and the stronger our character becomes, the more trustworthy our communication will be. At the end of the day, communication is more than words. Communication, it reveals what is happening in the heart. And over time, our character will either strengthen our relationships or weaken them. So may we become people whose words, values, actions, and character all align together, because who we are privately eventually becomes visible publicly. I remember hearing someone say, sometimes you have to let go of the fear that may be causing you to exemplify a character that is not truly you. Sit on that for a moment. Are you exemplifying character that is not truly you? Thank you for joining me today on the Credible Communication Podcast. If today's conversation encouraged you, take a moment to subscribe and share this episode with someone who values strong relationships and meaningful conversations. Because credible communication does not just strengthen your relationship, it has the power to strengthen families, leadership, communities, and marriage. And remember this, credible communication happens when our words, actions, character, and consistency all align together. And when that alignment exists, trust grows, relationships deepen, and bonds become lasting. I'm Anetria Pollard, and it's always a privilege to share with you. Until next time.